Imagine holding a piece of history in the palm of your hand. A small metal disc that has passed through countless fingers, witnessed battles, sealed trade deals, and helped build a nation. This is the story of Danish coinage. It is a journey that stretches back over 1,000 years, a saga that mirrors the very history of Denmark itself, from the rugged shores of the Viking Age to the sleek modern designs of today. Danish coins are more than just currency. They are miniature monuments telling tales of powerful monarchs, shifting empires, economic triumphs, and devastating crises. Each scratch, each faded portrait, and each symbolic design element is a clue to the past. This remarkable story begins in a time of sea raiders and silver hordes, when Denmark was just beginning to emerge as a unified kingdom. The coins from this era show us a society in transition, caught between ancient Norse beliefs and the powerful influence of Christianity. As we travel through the centuries, we see the coins evolve. They reflect the centralization of power under medieval kings, the economic ambitions of the early modern period, and the profound impact of war and bankruptcy. The tale of Danish coins is also a story of innovation, of adapting to new economic realities and technological advancements leading to the currency we recognize today. Our exploration will take us through the grand currency unions, like the Scandinavian Monetary Union, which once promised a shared financial destiny for the Nordic nations. We will witness the dramatic moment in 1813 when the state went bankrupt, forcing a complete reinvention of its monetary system and the creation of a national bank. We will also examine the coins of the 20th century, which had to be made from cheaper metals like zinc and aluminum during the World Wars, a stark reminder of times of hardship and scarcity. This journey through time reveals how closely a nation's money is tied to its identity and its fortunes. Finally, we will arrive in the present day, looking at the familiar Krone and ore coins that jingle in Danish pockets. We will uncover the stories behind their modern designs, from the distinctive holes to the heart-shaped mint mark of the Royal Danish Mint. We will also address a fascinating modern chapter, why Denmark, a committed member of the European Union, chose to keep its ancient krone rather than adopting the euro. This is a story of national pride, economic independence, and the enduring legacy of a currency that has served the Danish people for centuries, connecting them to their long and fascinating past. The story of Danish coinage begins in the Viking Age, a time of exploration, trade, and conquest. Before Denmark minted its own coins, its lands were a crossroads for currencies from across the known world. Viking traders and raiders returned from their voyages with a dazzling array of silver coins. Hoards discovered by archaeologists contain English pennies, German pfennigs, and even magnificent Arabic dirhams from the Abbasid Caliphate. These foreign coins were not used for their face value but were valued purely for their weight and the purity of their silver. They were often cut into smaller pieces, known as hack silver, to make exact payments, a practical but crude system for a burgeoning trade economy. Everything changed around the year 995 AD. The powerful Viking king, Sweyn Forkbeard, decided it was time for Denmark to have its own currency. He was a formidable ruler, the conqueror of England, and he understood that issuing coins was a powerful statement of sovereignty and authority. The very first Danish coins were struck in his name. These were small silver coins known as pennies, and their design was heavily inspired by the English pennies of King Ethelred the Unready, a coinage system the Vikings knew well. This wasn't just imitation, it was a strategic move to ensure the new Danish coins would be trusted and accepted in international trade networks. These early coins were fascinating artifacts, blending royal power with emerging religious identity. One side would often feature a portrait of the king, a clear symbol of who was in charge and guaranteeing the coin's value. The other side, however, frequently displayed a Christian cross. This was hugely significant. It showed that Denmark's rulers were embracing Christianity and aligning themselves with the powerful Christian kingdoms of Europe. The coins became a tool of propaganda, spreading the message of a new, unified and Christianized Denmark across the land and beyond. They were a tangible symbol of the kingdom's arrival on the European stage. The minting of these first coins was a pivotal moment. It marked a shift from a bullion economy, based on the weight of silver, to a monetary economy, where coins had a recognized value. This standardization made trade much simpler and more efficient, both within Denmark and with its neighbors. Local mints began to appear in important trading towns like Hedeby and Roskilde, solidifying the king's control over the economy. For the first time, Denmark had a currency that was truly its own, a silver reflection of its growing power and changing culture, setting the stage for the next 1,000 years of monetary history. As Denmark moved out of the Viking Age and into the High Middle Ages, its coinage system underwent significant changes. The era of the single, reliable silver penning gave way to a more complex and often chaotic monetary landscape. For centuries, the primary coin remained the small silver penning, but its quality and silver content could vary dramatically. Ambitious kings and powerful nobles often succumbed to the temptation of debasement, which meant mixing the precious silver with cheaper metals like copper. This allowed them to mint more coins from the same amount of silver, helping to fund wars and lavish construction projects, but it eroded public trust and created economic instability. During this period, minting was not yet a centralized state monopoly. Instead, mints were scattered across the kingdom in important cities and ecclesiastical centers. Bishops and local lords were sometimes granted the right to strike their own coins, leading to a confusing variety of currencies circulating simultaneously. A coin from a mint in Roskilde might have a different silver content and value from one struck in Lund or Ribe. This fragmentation made large-scale trade complicated and highlighted the ongoing struggle between the central monarchy and powerful local interests. It was a clear reflection of the decentralized nature of medieval power in Denmark. The designs on these medieval coins became more sophisticated, serving as a canvas for royal and religious symbolism. The simple crosses of the Viking era were often replaced with more elaborate imagery. The iconic three lions, which remain a part of Denmark's coat of arms today, began to appear on coins, symbolizing the strength and reach of the Danish monarchy. Crowns, scepters, and detailed portraits of the reigning monarch became common, each coin a miniature proclamation of royal authority. These symbols were not just decorative, they were a constant reminder to the populace of who held power and whose authority guaranteed the coin's worth. It wasn't until the reign of King Eric of Pomerania in the early 15th century that a major step towards centralization occurred. He introduced a new, larger silver coin, the HVID, and made efforts to standardize the currency across the lands of the Kalmar Union, which united Denmark, Norway, and Sweden under a single crown. This was a crucial move towards creating a more unified and manageable monetary system. While local variations and debasement would continue to be a problem for some time, the medieval period laid the essential groundwork for a national currency, establishing the symbolic language and the political struggles that would define Danish coinage for centuries to come. The early modern period from the 16th to the early 19th century brought profound changes to Denmark's monetary system. The kingdom was growing in power and ambition, and its currency needed to keep pace. This era saw the introduction of a new and more robust currency system based on the rigsdaler. The rigsdaler was a large silver coin, inspired by the German thaler, and it became the backbone of the Danish economy for nearly 300 years. It was subdivided into smaller units, most notably the skilling. This bimetallic system, with large silver coins for significant transactions and smaller copper or debased silver coins for daily use, provided a more flexible and stable framework for the growing economy. This period also witnessed the birth of a revolutionary financial innovation, the banknote. In 1736, the Courantbanken was established in Copenhagen, and it began issuing paper money. Initially, these notes were essentially promises to pay the bearer the equivalent amount in silver coin on demand. This was a huge leap forward, making it easier to handle large sums of money for trade and state finances. However, it also introduced a new risk. The bank could be tempted to print more notes than it had silver to back them up, a danger that would have catastrophic consequences for Denmark in the future. The idea of money was shifting from something with intrinsic value like silver to something based on trust in an institution. The 18th century was a time of relative prosperity for Denmark, often referred to as the flourishing trade period. The stable rigsdaler and the convenience of banknotes helped fuel this economic expansion. Danish ships traded across the globe, and the currency system was sophisticated enough to support this complex international commerce. However, the winds of change were blowing across Europe. The Napoleonic Wars at the turn of the 19th century would soon plunge the continent into chaos, and Denmark's neutrality and its economy would be put to the ultimate test. The very foundations of its monetary system were about to be shaken to their core. The crisis came to a head following the Battle of Copenhagen in 1807, when the British Navy bombarded the Danish capital and seized the entire Danish fleet. Cut off from Norway and its silver mines, and with its trade devastated, Denmark's economy collapsed. To fund the ongoing war, the state resorted to printing vast quantities of unbacked banknotes. The value of the currency plummeted, leading to hyperinflation. By 1813, the situation was so dire that the state was forced to declare bankruptcy. The old Rigsdaler system was shattered, and the nation faced the monumental task of building a new, trustworthy currency from the ashes of financial ruin. The state bankruptcy of 1813 was, well, a national trauma. But it also provided a clean slate for radical monetary reform. Out of the ashes of the old system, a new institution was born, Denmark's National Bank, the National Bank of Denmark, established in 1818. Its primary mission was to restore stability and trust in the nation's currency. A new currency, the Rigsdaler, was introduced to replace the worthless paper money of the war years. The bank's immediate goal was to gradually bring the new currency back to its full value in silver, a long and arduous process that took decades but was absolutely essential for rebuilding the shattered economy and public confidence. The most significant currency reform of the 19th century arrived in 1873. Denmark, along with Sweden, decided to abandon the old silver-based Rigsdaler system and adopt the international gold standard. This led to the creation of the Scandinavian Monetary Union, which Norway joined 2 years later. As part of this union, a brand new currency was introduced, the Krone, meaning crown, which was subdivided into 100 ore. This marked the introduction of a decimal system, a modern and efficient way of calculating money that replaced the cumbersome old system of daler, mark and skilling. The krone was born, and it remains Denmark's currency to this very day. The Scandinavian Monetary Union was a remarkable achievement for its time. Under the agreement, the krone coins and banknotes of Denmark, Sweden and Norway were considered legal tender in all three countries. A Danish 10-krone gold coin was worth exactly the same as a Swedish or Norwegian 10-krone gold coin, and they could be used interchangeably. This created a vast unified monetary area, simplifying trade and travel between the Scandinavian neighbors. For nearly 4 decades, the Union fostered close economic ties and a sense of shared Nordic identity, all built on a foundation of gold and mutual trust. The dream of a single Scandinavian currency, however, could not survive the pressures of the 20th century. The outbreak of the First World War in 1914 shattered the gold standard as countries suspended the convertibility of their currencies to finance the war effort. The economic divergence between the member nations during and after the war made it impossible to maintain the fixed exchange rates. Although the Union officially dissolved in the 1920s, its legacy endured. The name of the currency, the krone in Denmark and Norway, and the krone in Sweden, remains a powerful reminder of this ambitious and forward-thinking chapter in Nordic history. Section 6. War, Scarcity and Modernization in the 20th Century. The 20th century was indeed a turbulent period for Denmark and its currency, marked by 2 world wars and significant economic shifts. The First World War brought an end to the Scandinavian Monetary Union and the gold standard, forcing Denmark to navigate a new world of fluctuating exchange rates. Then came the Great Depression of the 1930s, which put further strain on the economy. During the Second World War, Denmark was occupied by Germany from 1940 to 1945. This period brought about immediate and practical challenges for coinage. Essential metals like copper and nickel were requisitioned for the German war machine, leading to severe shortages for minting. In response to this scarcity, the Royal Danish Mint had to get creative. Traditional bronze and cupronical coins were temporarily replaced with coins made from cheaper, more readily available metals. During the occupation, Denmark began minting coins from aluminum and zinc. These war coins were lighter and had a different feel, a tangible, everyday reminder of the hardships and rationing of the occupation years. Once the war was over and the economy began to recover, Denmark gradually returned to using traditional metals for its coinage, but the zinc and aluminum pieces remain powerful historical artifacts from a dark chapter in the nation's history. The post-war decades were a period of economic recovery, modernization, and growing prosperity, often referred to as the welfare state's golden age. As inflation slowly eroded the purchasing power of the krone, the smallest denominations of ore coins became increasingly impractical. Their value was eventually less than the cost of producing them. This led to a series of reforms where the smallest coins were phased out. The 1-ore and 2-ore coins were abolished in 1973, followed by the 5-ore and 10-ore coins in 1989. This was a practical adjustment to economic reality, streamlining the currency system for modern commerce. By the late 1980s, it was clear that the existing coin series, some of which had designs dating back to the 1920s, was due for a major overhaul. The coin lineup felt dated and inefficient. The government and the National Bank decided it was time for a complete redesign, one that would create a more functional, modern, and aesthetically pleasing coin series for the approaching 21st century. This decision set the stage for the most comprehensive reform of Danish coinage in over a century, leading to the distinctive set of coins that Danes use today, a series designed to be both practical and rich in national symbolism. Section 8. The Krone in the Age of the Euro. One of the most defining chapters in the recent history of the Danish krone is its relationship with the euro. When the Maastricht Treaty was signed in 1992, laying the groundwork for the European Union and its single currency, Denmark secured 4 key opt-outs, one of which was the right to choose whether to adopt the euro. This decision was put to the Danish people in a referendum in the year 2000. The campaign was fiercely debated, with arguments for the economic stability of joining the Eurozone pitted against concerns over losing national sovereignty and control over monetary policy. The result was a clear no, with 53.2% of voters choosing to keep the krone. Despite rejecting the euro, Denmark's economy is closely tied to the Eurozone. To ensure stability, Denmark participates in the EU's exchange rate mechanism, ERM2. This means the Danish krone is pegged to the euro, allowed to fluctuate only within a very narrow band of plus or minus 2.25% around a central rate. In practice, Denmark's national bank keeps the rate even more stable, usually within plus or minus 0.5%. This policy provides the economic predictability of the euro without formally adopting the currency, a balancing act that has defined Danish monetary policy for over 2 decades. It gives Denmark a foot in both camps, access to the stability of the euro area while retaining its own currency and central bank. The decision to keep the krone is deeply rooted in a sense of national identity and history. The krone is more than just money. It is a powerful symbol of Danish independence, stretching back to its creation in 1873. The coins and banknotes featuring the monarch, national symbols, and historic landmarks are a part of the country's cultural fabric. For many Danes, giving up the krone would have felt like giving up a piece of their heritage. The referendum result reflected a desire to preserve this symbol of sovereignty, even while embracing close political and economic cooperation with European partners. This unique position has also influenced the physical production of the currency. In a move that surprised many, Denmark's National Bank announced in 2014 that it would cease printing its own banknotes and minting its own coins, citing declining cash usage and the high cost of maintaining production facilities. After more than 500 years of minting coins on Danish soil, the Royal Danish Mint was closed. Since 2016, the production of Danish krone coins has been outsourced. Following a public tender, the task was awarded to the Mint of Finland, which now manufactures the coins that are such a distinct symbol of Danish identity. The current banknotes, featuring Danish bridges and archaeological finds, are printed by a French company. Section 9. The realm's currency, beyond Denmark's shores. The story of Danish currency extends beyond the borders of Denmark proper, encompassing the other constituent countries of the Danish realm, the Faroe Islands and Greenland. Both territories use the Danish krone, but the Faroe Islands have a unique arrangement. They issue their own distinct banknotes known as the Faroese krone, which have the same value as the Danish krone and are pegged to it 1-to-1. These notes circulate alongside Danish coins and can be exchanged freely. The designs on Faroese banknotes are stunning, featuring motifs of local wildlife and landscapes, beautifully capturing the unique culture and nature of the islands. The Faroe Islands do not, however, mint their own coins. For all transactions involving coins, they use the standard Danish krone coins, the 50 ore and the 1, 2, 5, 10, and 20 krone pieces. This creates a hybrid system where local banknotes and Danish coins are used together. This arrangement respects Faroese cultural autonomy while maintaining the stability and convenience of being part of the larger Danish monetary area. It is a practical solution that has worked well for decades, reflecting the special relationship between the Faroe Islands and Denmark within the framework of the realm. Greenland, the world's largest island and another constituent country of the Danish realm, has a more straightforward currency situation. Unlike the Faroe Islands, Greenland does not issue its own banknotes. It uses standard Danish krone coins and banknotes for all transactions. Although there have been discussions and even plans in the past to introduce a special series of Greenlandic banknotes, similar to the Faroese model, these plans have not yet come to fruition. Therefore, the currency you would use in Nuuk, the capital of Greenland, is exactly the same as the currency you would use in Copenhagen. Today, the coins circulating throughout the entire Danish realm are the modern series introduced between 1989 and 1993. These are the bronze 50 ore, the hold silver-colored 1, 2, and 5 krone coins, and the golden aluminum bronze 10 and 20 krone coins. They all bear the portrait or monogram of the monarch and symbols rooted in Danish history. Though now minted in Finland, these coins continue a 1,000-year-long narrative. They are the direct descendants of Sweyn Forkbeard's silver pennies, a tangible link to a rich history of kings, crises, and national identity, connecting